Xenakis was a Greek-French avant-garde composer who was a music theorist and also an architect. He worked as an assistant of the famous French architect Le Corbusier for many years. And he was an engineer and a performance director. Xenakis pioneered the use of mathematical models in music, such as the application of set theory, stochastic processes, game theory, and it was extremely influential in the development of electronic music and computer music. I'm going to describe and discuss here two pieces of Xenakis. One that is actually a piece meant to be and written for an architectural space where he combines these two expertise of engineering, architecture, and music. Xenakis left numerous writings about music and the formulation of a compositional structure and aesthetics for music that are highly mathematical and very interesting to read if one has a interest in high-level mathematics. But he also left us with a series of some ideas on how we can formalize music in terms of different elements. And here it kind of connects with what I was talking about when we discussed the work of Pierre Boulez. So for Xenakis, formalized music starts with an initial conception. That is the idea, the framework, the content, the nominal content of the composition, a definition of the sonic entities and their symbolism that needs to be part of the communication of the composition itself. So sounds, electronic sounds, musical instruments, ensemble, or if electronic music, the kind of sounds and the kind of effects on the sounds that one wants to utilize in the framework of the composition. The definition of the transformation of this entity. So in a way, Xenakis was not a follower of integral serialism, but again, in composition, and you will see this also in the future units, operations on the sonic elements are always used by the composers, and so there is an aspect of manipulation that is common to all music, basically. And then he defines these two scale in the composition, and so this is interesting because it's the first time that we see in this music and complexity course the concept of microscale and macroscale. So on the micro scale or the micro composition, this is the choice of the way in which the elements are related within a particular aspect of the composition. And so we go like from one note to another according to some specific rules. And then there is the macro aspect that is putting all this together into the larger framework that implies decisions at the higher level from the composer to determine the structure of the piece. And then then you have, once you have done all this in again a feedback loop, you go from the micro scale to the macro scale continuously in the composition, and then you end up with a final product that you put to a score, a recording, a performance, and so on. Now, I want to stress again that although these ideas were defined by Xenakis for his own work, they apply to all of music composition, whatever genre, whatever culture, and whatever function the music has. The first piece that I encourage you to listen and try to understand is called Pithoprakta. that in Greek translates like action through probability. And here Xenakis actually uses a physical model, the statistical mechanics of gases, and draws an analogy between the movement of a gas molecule through space and the movement of a string instrument through its pitch range. And so he maps these two processes in this composition. And he basically utilizes also concepts like temperature and pressure to modify the way in which this virtual molecule is mapped into the musical space. And it's interesting to see. So now we can listen to this piece. You'll find the link in the PowerPoint of this video. In this page, you see the graphics notation and the notes that Xenakis used in the composition. So on the right, we have these graphs that are actually mapping of a molecular motion through space, and how these trajectories are mapped to a particular pitch range or pitch space. And on the left is the translation of all these behaviors of this graphical analysis into an actual score written on staff and using traditional notation for the composition. The second piece that I want to introduce to you is called Concret pH, and it's a piece that Xenakis wrote in 1958 for the Philips Pavilion of the International World Fair that was actually designed by Le Corbusier and Xenakis himself as his assistant. This is a piece of what we call musique concrète. That means music that is made using ordinary sounds that are recorded and manipulated. And is a large-scale composition that was heard by the audience in entering into this pavilion that you can see on the bottom right picture of this slide. Inside the pavilion, there was another electronic music piece, again, a very pioneering concept from another very influential and famous composer of the 20th century, Edgar Varèse. And this piece is called Poème électronique, that you can find in many different places, so YouTube or any streaming app, if you want to listen to it. The sound source for Concret pH is the recording of burning charcoal. So that's the sound of the concrete sound that Xenakis uses for this composition. That is transformed and there are overdubbings and there are effects applied to it. Remember, this is 1958. There was no digital sound processing. Everything was done analogically using actual tape, recording tape, in slicing and gluing different pieces together. The other novelty and interest for this piece is that for the time, it was broadcasted over more than 400 speakers in the space, and so it was a first example of using sound reproduction to create an immersive space of sound. And so in many respects, this is a very influential and kind of pioneering musical experience for Xenakis. And you can listen to the recording of this on the PowerPoint. And also, in the associated notebook, I'll guide you through a version of this piece that is obtained by purely algorithmic means in Python.